Should we check out some glaze? Guys, look at this. Oh, you can't even see it because my face is in the way. Look, I saw a familiar face. We're in with the glaze slot, boys. We're in with the glaze slot. Let's go. We're part of the Hyperglazer glaze slot crew. We'll take it. We'll take it. They call me a shill. They're kind of right, but you know. Thanks for the sub, whoever that was. Appreciate ya. Somebody might have shared this in my Discord, but I did see this pop up on my feed. This dude's only, he's got less than 1,000 subs. This banged 13k views. Arknights is the best gacha game I have ever played. Big statement, right? But it's a big statement. I've got to be honest. I kind of agree with you, honestly. I do. There's a lot of great gacha games out there. Wuthering Waves is a great gacha game. Zenless Song Zero is a great gacha game. Reverse 1999, great gacha game. There's a myriad of other good gacha games as well. You know, there's a bunch of people that call out like Uma Musume, Genshin, FGO. You know, fuck, some people would say lads, right? But for me, Arknights takes it purely, well, there's a lot of things. Music, just the variety of top tier. I appeal to anybody. If you like video game music, check out the breadth of music that Arknights has to offer. Actually, insane. The Arknights shield, yo, what's up, Fox? Hopefully you had a good stream. The breadth of music, insane, right? The story, brilliant. I'm up to chapter 12 at the moment. Absolutely adoring chapter 12. I was speaking about it earlier. It just exemplifies some of the excellent storytelling within Arknights. The futility, the moving parts. I love the fact that it's not just good versus evil. We even get empathy for antagonists in the game. Protagonists can be bad guys. It's just written really well. We've got an insanely big world with deep storytelling in regards to story lore and world building. The gameplay, in my opinion, although I don't like tower defense games, I fell in love with the gameplay, the variety, the depth, the strategy, the tactical aspect of the gameplay, the events, the different mechanics, just the variety in that regards, the end game, you know, the free-to-play aspect of the game, some of the insane packs you can get in the game for selectors, all that sort of stuff. And then, not to mention, things like the recruit system, being able to get top operators for free, getting 4 operators, what, every 9 hours or something like that. Just insane. You can use for certs, all that sort of stuff. Amazing amount of skins that people can get access to without spending a penny. Just too many things, right? Too many good. Yeah, Limber's Company as well. Another great game. That's a game that I actually really like as well. There's a bunch of awesome gacha games, right? But for me, Arknights takes the #1 spot. So, let's see what Raman Blitz has got to say and why he or they or she think it is the best gacha game they've ever played. Let's have a look.
Waiter! More Arknights glazing videos, please.
Oh, Deadhound's in there as well.
For the hive mind it is.
Let's
That
go.
means today, we're going to talk about why Arknights is the best gacha game I have ever played. Asterisk. More on what that asterisk means later. Now, I have played every single gacha game on your screen right now over the past decade. And this will be the roster where I will be making a few comparisons throughout this video.
No cat fantasy. Fraud.
And to do so, we'll yap about my personal perspective on 3 main points. The gameplay, general systems like the gacha itself, and the story. So let's get into it.
Well, let's
to
go.
those who stumbled on this video
the glazing
and have
never stops,
played
baby.
the game, Arknights is a 2D tower defense game where the characters you pull in the gacha are the towers, aka operators that you can deploy. There are a few lanes that the enemies attack from, and your operators.
It's wild as well, yeah. You know when you see little bits of gameplay, you know, like, you're just like, what is this trash? Like, this is what I thought at first. And then I played it, and it's just like, something just clicked with me, man.
Operators just have to gun them down before they reach your base. If that sounds pretty easy, you're kind of right. The core gameplay loop is simple by design, and the easy stages are just that. Easy. But as you tackle higher and higher level stages...
Tell that to Deadhound with TR15. You know? A lot of people struggle with that stage, actually. One thing Arknights is not afraid to do, which a lot of gacha games are, is giving you difficult story content. You know, it's got hard events, hard endgame, but it's genuinely got story beats that are actually hard content, right? Depending on your roster and stuff as well, because of course that can help. But There's actual, genuine, difficult content in the story.
You'll find a surprising amount of depth. Here's a quick glimpse at just how ridiculous the super bosses in this game
Dead end catching strays.
This absolute fucker has over 2 million HP, summons infinite ads, some of which explode, others instantly kill operators in their path. He will nuke the map if he's blocked, has these little flower things that must be healed, but if you don't, then they will also nuke the map. Then he has this whole other second phase on a different map, where you can only use operators previously insta-killed by those fuck-ass boats.
Some of the content is genuinely difficult, right? It is, I won't even say, some people say it's the Dark Souls of tower defense. It's the Dark Souls of gacha games. Honestly. You know? Because, of course, there's difficult content in gacha games. A lot of the time, though, it's stat stick content, though, right? You don't have the team or the stats or the weapons or whatever it might be, right? You know? And usually, it's brought to you by a timer. That's it. You know, that's where the difficulty comes. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Totally different situation in Arknights. The content itself's actually hard, right?
This game gets crazy. Now, each operator has unique abilities.
We will, BVN. We will. Don't you worry. Once you've gone through the story content, I think we're going to flip the switch. We're going to E2, baby. We're going to E2.
As well as passives that change the way you play them. Take our goofy gun sancta Exusiae Alter here. Her role can completely change based off choosing a different skill before combat. Her skill 2...
Are we buffering? I'm not getting any issues my end, but my internet did disconnect earlier. Are we buffering, chat? It looks alright. Got a little bit of lag. Okay.
You makes her a traditional DPS, gaining absurd attack and attack speed to completely shred enemies. But decided to use her skill 3 instead, and she trades that DPS output for utility. Now she has a revive mechanic, letting her revive an operator that was previously defeated. This game has built on itself since it came out years ago in 2020, and each of these factors have gotten so much more interesting as the years go by. This wild complexity makes every stage fun, and with the game allowing you to build a squad of 12 units of your choice, you can mix and match for your own tailored experience. And of course, that's just the base game. And this is word of me.
I don't know if he's going to speak about this here, but I don't feel like enough people speak about this, and I bang on it a lot, right? Obviously, you've got endgame stuff, right? And you've got all the mechanics that come with some of the bosses and some of the content and some of the events, right? For me, though, and I think this is something that should be harped on about, is the mechanics changes within the story, right? There's not really... Most gacha games, apart from maybe like turn-based games and some here and there, that don't have this like vast difference in mechanics in the content in general a lot of the time, let alone within the story, to the point where a previous chapter will play totally different to the upcoming chapter. You know what I mean? And that's just in the story content. And I think it's, for me so far, it's been one of the most appreciated things within the game. Because I've spoke about this before, right? You know, like, we've got Wuthering Waves at 3.0 at the moment, right? You know, and we've, what is it, the Tomb Break thing they've added in, and we've got a new area, and we've got a bike. And that's your new version of the game, right? A new story and all that sort of stuff. And that's fine. I'm not knocking that. But, like, with each iteration and chapters of the story, not all, but, like, most of them, you get, like, this new way to play the game, right? It feels totally fresh. You play it in a different way. It gives rise to different characters being way more useful, some maybe not being so useful, but again, Arknights is one of those games where if you take your time and plan things out, you can kind of make so many different things work, you know? And I think it's such a good thing because going throughout the story, it breathes life into the way the game is played and plays, and I think it's a massive, massive thing for me. And even to this date, we're seeing them bringing new stuff, and it's like, this is cool. These new mechanics are cool. You know, like in the last one with the camera lights and stuff like that, and the waking the children in the Masses Travels event, and we got that clip of Cookie talking about the kids. Jokes. But, you know, like those sort of things, man, like, really appreciated for me. It changes the way you approach the game in such a massive way, especially for somebody like me. Now, I know, obviously, my team's a lot better now, but especially coming through a lot of the content at E1, it really makes you stop and take a moment to be like, oh shit, okay. Fuck, I gotta think about this a little bit. Really appreciate that. Just Genshin with his lunar reaction in Not Cry counts as new wave. I can't say. I haven't played Genshin for ages now. I've got no clue.
Arknights goes from kinda fun to truly great. You see, besides the basic gameplay loop, Arknights has 2 fully supported and regularly updated permanent game modes. My favorite one is Integrated Strategies. Play through your choice of several expansions, each with
we love the fireworks,
but all of them with the same underlying roguelike gameplay.
Not everything is as good as everything else.
I swear it is the majority of my gameplay time. Slowly learning each expansion run by run, while having different operators and buffs every.
I am going to start putting more time into IS soon as well. I am. Again, once we're caught up with the story. I think I am going to E2. I think it's time. You know?
It's just so enjoyable.
Just spat on my mic,
I don't
my
know
bad.
for sure, but I feel like Arknights came out with their roguelite mode, and all the other gacha games followed suit.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
Honkai Star Rail Simulated Universe and Genshin's Imaginarium Theater both follow that
And again, I don't blame them, because IS is fucking amazing.
same general formula after IS came out. I'm obviously not going to pretend Arknights pioneered the genre.
Well, that's a good point, me man. The new mechanics for a lot of gacha games come with the characters, don't they? Which happens in Arknights as well. The characters have kits and mechanics. Well, you might have a boss that does something different. Maybe some games have mechanics, right? But in terms of... It's hard to compare it, right? Because of it being a tower defense game, those mechanics affect the stage in a specific way that you just wouldn't get, or you could get, I guess, in something like WoW, moving from region to region and stuff. It'd have to be built into the enemies, and yeah, it all comes from the characters, right? It all comes from the characters, really.
Or anything, but I did not see much of anything close to it until it came out, and
Me too.
suddenly it's everywhere in
Impossible.
gacha games. Also, side note, this mode is where the boss I mentioned before came from. The other evergreen mode is called Reclamation Algorithm, a complete flip on the gameplay loop.
still
where you
not
go to
played
various
this.
maps to collect resources and build your own custom base. I personally only played it enough for the caper skin, as it's not my personal cup of tea, but I do genuinely appreciate just how expansive it is. The map just sprawls on, and there are various NPCs around giving you quests in order to further unlock more of it. If resource collection games are your type of thing, then I recommend you try it. That's not all. On top of those permanent game modes are events that regularly run. These can be as varied as crazy boss rushes to multiplayer co-op stages.
Vector Breakthrough kicked my ass. It kicked my ass.
A really special one to me is Stronghold Protocol. As a TFT auto chess competitor myself, this mode had me in a chokehold. A genuine take on the auto chess genre, coupled with a
I enjoyed this as well. It was fun.
And it is the most absurd combination of my hyper.
You're not ready for RA. No one is ready for RA.
Of course, it was an RNG and unbalanced mess, but it was fun to me. Speaking of unbalanced, there is a bit of a con in the power creep.
Vector kept you busy for a full week. Yeah, that's, again, as I say, throwing in events that are genuinely difficult, right? And again, we're talking about this event field. Double-edged swords, right? Not having currency tied to events or endgame. You're like, oh, okay. How do I get my rewards? Because it's an extra way to get rewards. But it also, it's not going to stop FOMO, because if you want to clear stuff and you want to get characters, you're going to have FOMO, right? But it doesn't push you to build an account based on getting extra pulls from events and in-game. And I also think it puts the onus on them to make those events genuinely good as well, right? And I'm totally cool with some of that content being difficult. I just hope we don't rely on timers in Enfield, because I'm a little bit worried about that.
For the game. You see, in 2020,
Hot take VB's
healed
harder
everyone.
than CC.
In 2025, Shu heals everyone, bashes in enemy heads, and forces them to stay in the rice fields, not letting any of them escape. If I'm gonna be honest though, this is actually a non-issue to me for 2 reasons. I'm generally a believer that power creep does not fucking matter at all if there's no PvP in the game. As long as I can clear what
I think it's a point that, you know, some people would argue if there's no PvP, it doesn't really matter. But again, I think it goes back to, can you get the full experience out of a game, or at least majority of the experience? And 2, if they do tie currency to stuff that you can only clear with you know, crept or paracreeping characters, it sucks. And I think that matters as an experience, as a game, right? But again, as a free-to-play player, in most games, especially games that are monetized in the way gacha games are made, you're going to expect that you're not going to get the entire experience. If it's cosmetics, then you're money missing out on the cosmetic experience, right? And that's fine. I think that's fine, right? That's fine not to experience a game in its entirety if you've been playing it for free for hundreds of hours. But it can be really detrimental to the experience if it goes too far. Power creep is necessary. Power creep is necessary in gacha games, in my opinion. It's all about how fast it happens, how often characters get sidelined, if they ever do, and how fast content chases the creep of characters, right? That's when it becomes a problem. If you start getting constant new content that's tailored for new units, specific units, really feels like unless you're constantly keeping up, you're getting left behind. That matters, I think. I think that definitely matters in my opinion. But again, if it's a slow sort of linear creep and everything can still kind of clear at least 90% of stuff, I'm cool with that. Not everything has the ability to give you the sort of gameplay that Arknights does, right? Where it is one of those games that brains can overcome brawns in a sense, where in more reaction-based action games, a little bit different, right? So they do have that ability to give people the tools in a sense to still clear some seriously hard content with quite low level accounts or unmeta characters, non-meta characters, if you will,
I want.
Yo, Crystal, what's up? What's up, dude?
Second,
yo, Lance, what's going on?
The game is actually balanced to the point where you can clear a majority of the stages with just low rarity free operators. Pop open a guide and see what I mean. You can have the shiny new OP units, but you don't really need them. Because of that balance, it is in a much better game state.
I'd also argue as well, getting too many OP units early on in this game is detrimental to the enjoyment of the game, in my opinion. Now, at the end of the day, if you enjoy steamrolling content, I get it, right. But it makes you learn the game more, not having those units. And I'd argue it's what Arknights is about, right? Having those moments where you overcome an insanely difficult stage in Arknights, it's special. Again, I'm glazing the game hard, right? I haven't had moments like R88, JT83, Patriot stage, other stages as well that I can't even think off the top of my head right now in any other gacha game. There's been frustratingly difficult stat stick content that I've managed to clear, and I've been like, thank fuck. But it's never really been satisfactory in the sense where it's like, I overcame that. It was like my account did really, right? The characters that I had and the stats that I had did the heavy lifting. I just perfected the rotation and hit buttons at the right time, which still takes skill. But you know what I mean? But with Arknights, like, man, clearing those stages, man, and really working things out in Arknights, it's special. And there's just so many different ways it can be done as well. That's why I love watching clears back when I've cleared a hard stage, because you get your eyes open and you're like, holy shit, it feels like there's a 50 other different ways to clear this stage, where in other games, it's usually the same thing pretty much, right? Maybe one or two characters, maybe this person's doing a little bit of better quick swap, they're cancelling animations maybe, and that's allowing them to generate energy quicker depending on the game, but it's pretty much same, but different. Where with Arknights, just totally different, right?
And say Honkai Star Rail, which, hot take, I don't even feel is the worst because it has no PvP. And I could care less about zero cycling. I only really care about the story there. It's more closer to Fate Grand Order, which I consider fairly lenient. A lot of the free shit in FGO can clear everything, and you only really need to invest in a meta-defining support. After you have one or two of those, you can play literally any DPS.
Also, I've heard this in
directly comparing gameplay, you really can't.
Like, people say, the gacha sucks, but the good thing is, it doesn't even matter, because you can just clear the game anyway.
Since it's all up to genre preference. If you like open world, Genshin and Wu are better. If you like turn-based, Honkai is more interesting. But if you like tower defenses, time to learn Arknights.
I don't know, man. I'd argue, if you like turn-based games, there's many better games than Honkai Star Rail for turn-based combat. As turn-based combat goes, Star Rail's not even that good,
buddy.
Personally, it's a good game. The combat itself isn't like Star Rail's anywhere near its best point for me. Like, I'll say again, Bella Bugger's peak. You know, its combat's just alright, though.
This isn't the only point of comparison between Arknights and the rest. There's also their different systems. As the namesake of the genre of gacha games, the most important system to discuss is the gacha itself. This can be subdivided into the standard headhunting banner, kernel headhunting,
Brother play Limbo C. Yeah, what's up,
is something
easy?
that I've only ever seen in this game personally. The idea is that it is a free gacha system where you select tags and you get a random operator based off your trait. It's a set pool, so you can't get everyone, but this is a good method to farm various currencies, and the operators in it can be quite good. The kernel headhunting system functions like a standard banner, except it's a separate pool entirely. This was Arknights' method to dilute the unit pool by moving many of the units from the early couple years into their own separate banner. That way, when you pull the standard one, you can't get the equivalent of losing your 50-50 to Japard and Honkai Star Rail. More like you randomly get a Hyacine instead. And the rates on hitting an SSR is comparatively really high. The Hoyo games have a standard base chance of hitting an SSR at 0.6%. The standard base chance in Arknights is a full 2%. I usually get 40 to 50 rolls saved up between every banner that I care about, and I hit the rate up unit I want maybe 50 or 60% of the time. It's very chill. I hit an SSR so often that I don't particularly care if I miss anyone, unless it's someone I really want. Not to mention, dupes don't fucking matter.
Yes.
They only give marginally better stats.
Yes. I'm so glad, even though they matter much more in Enfield, right? I'm so glad they didn't lean into it too heavily. They definitely do matter, and hopefully they don't speedrunning dupes mattering too much in the future. Another massive thing, right? Dupes just really don't fucking matter.
That's an almost never make or break content clears. This is unlike the Hoyo games in Wuwa, where dupes lock entire parts of their kit behind a paywall. I consider this system to be severely anti-consumer and highly predatory, which is funny to say considering they're all gacha games at the end of the day. This is why I tend to prefer the gacha system of Arknights and those like it over the rest, especially because there is no weapons banner. I have always said this since day dot. Hoyo introducing a separate premium currency weapons banner that is BIS for every single character is a blight upon the gacha game sphere. Its introduction has tainted every gacha game since.
What was Genshin the first? It wasn't the first game to introduce that, not really. What was the first game to introduce like weapons on top of the characters? Or does he mean specifically regarding the currency here? That's why I'm so glad we got the Arsenal system as well in Enfield again. Hoyo didn't start. I was going to say I didn't think they did.
To at least
I don't know if he's specifically connecting the currency to it as well. But even then, I'm going to guess that they didn't do that either, right?
They're adding one for profit.
Genshin was the one that popularized it all. True, right? You know, end of the day, everybody tried to follow suit in what Hoyo did after Genshin, right? Because Genshin did what Genshin did, right? And fucking blew up, right?
Oh, let's force everyone to have to pull 2 entirely separate things per character. It will double profits. Yippee! Can you tell I don't like weapons? That's not to say it can't be done well. FGO's weapons are built into their character banners, which barely even matter anyways because the best ones are all free from events. I can't speak on Wuwa because I quit in 1.0, and I never looked up Enfields because I don't want to spoil the game for myself, but I hear they're fine. But you're telling me I can pull a character in Arknights and have it be max strength from the game?
Damn. Bro has got some strength of character. Didn't even bother looking up like the weapons and gacha stuff on that because he didn't want to spoil himself. Holy shit. Okay. Respect.
Gecko? Sounds good to me. Not to mention, maxing out a character has nothing to do with a dog shit randomized artifact system. Just get the materials like you would for any other game.
Yeah.
What if you get an old unit? Don't they suck? Well, if you remember what I said earlier, if the low rarity operators can clear everything, why can't the old premium units? I still use a lot.
Brother, my best 50-50 loss ever was an older unit. Actual plot armor.
Of them to this day. And I could even bring them up to speed with the module system. Arknights' way of buffing old characters to relevance again. Thankfully, a lot of gachas are doing this, which I am happy about. FGO, Honkai, Genshin, ZZZ, they're all buffing older characters through some kind of method. No, Arknights isn't fully absolved from sin. I might not spend money on the gacha, but they siphon my money in another way. And that is through the League of Legends method. Most of the time I buy Organium, it's to buy skins, baby!
Iced.
The skins in this game are so good. Everyone is dripped out. So much so, they added a whole boutique section.
To be honest, the module, well, great, it can be better. See, I can't comment on that part of the game, right? Because being a baby bitch E1 player who refuses to E2, I've got no context around the experience of building units like that, and then the experience post building the units as well.
In the menu so you can browse. That said though, Wishido, what in the hell are you wearing? Skin pricing's okay, but you can't just grind out the game for the currency. No, the real actual issue is actually part of the grind itself. Arknights unfortunately has the archaic fossil of time-gated farming. Most games...
Yes, big agree. Any game that does that, no. If it's like, oh, I need this map for my character. Oh yeah, you can only farm that on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Or a Wednesday and a fucking Friday. Or whatever. It's like, bro, what we doing here? Stop it. Stop it. That is one issue. The amount of times when, like, you get a new character and then, like, I ain't got a specific material. And you're like, right, quickly, let's go farm it. Fuck! I don't understand it. And a game like Arknights as well doesn't even need to do it. It doesn't even need to do it right because there's so much content to keep you on the game. Like, it's not even a retention thing, really. You know what I mean?
Have moved away from this method, and yet it's right here. Like in Genshin, you can only farm certain materials on certain days. It is disturbing that it has not been updated yet to leave them all open all the time. Like, do they genuinely think that little Timmy is laying in bed trying to sleep, excited to finally farm LMD on Sunday? Oh, hell no! Honestly, there's still a lot to talk about system-wise. Like about how them adding a bunch of English VAs is scratching my brain in a very good way. But if we talked about everything, we would be here for hours.
True.
So let's move on and talk about the real meat of the game. The story. If it wasn't evident before, I mainly play gacha games for their story. It is by far the most important aspect for me.
Hopefully, I don't think we're spoiling here. I don't think we're spoiling.
And damn does Arknights deliver in spades. Arknights is up there with some of the deepest world building I have ever seen. And it is certainly top tier when considering only gacha games. From the high level history.
I agree with that. I think it's actually up there in general sci-fi, fantasy, like, content, personally, for me. I think the world's fucking brilliant. I really do.
Of every single nation, to the overarching origin of Terra, down to the little details of how a frail infected man in Ursus escapes persecution, to the final words of a Victorian soldier about to be a victim of Sarkaz witchcraft. It all oozes with flavor, detailed and beautifully written prose. Maybe a couple years ago,
Skybird doesn't read story.
Storytelling doesn't match up with how good the world building is, but these days they don't have that problem at all. Babel, Lone Trails, chapters 14 and 15, Come Catastrophes or Wakes of Vultures. These are all fantastically written stories, where every little detail matters to the reader. The only semi-recent story in Arknights that I can think of that could be considered an L was the Virtuosa and Viviana event that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. The story itself was good, but the prose was the blandest I've seen in a while. Even despite that though, when all these stories are put together...
Thing is though, you can't, with how much story content's in this game, it can't all be like top tier, right? Again, there's definitely parts of the game myself, where you're like, okay, it does feel like sometimes things wordy for the sake of being wordy without actually adding to the game. But for the most part, you don't get that feeling. I think the only time sometimes where like I actually feel like I want to rush story, it's not because I want to rush the story. It's because when you're in a good set of stages and you're enjoying the gameplay, I just want to play. I just want to play. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, can you shut the fuck up yapping and can we get onto the stage kind of thing? But yeah, again, it's not perfect, right? And no story's ever going to be perfect. But with a game that has such a vast amount of stories as well, it's to be expected. There's going to be plenty that don't exactly hit the mark. Again, so far for me though, majority of my experience with the story has been brilliant. My side story experiences so far, I'd probably say, for me, the weakest side story for me so far is, and I've only done Granny and the Knight's Treasure, Dark Knight's Memoirs, and What the Firelight's Cast. Probably Firelight was the weakest one for me personally. There was definitely times I definitely just felt like it was a little bit slow. It was needed, right? But I just felt there was parts of it where I was just like, I think we can move on a little bit now. You know what I mean? Felt like it hung around a little bit too much, even though it wasn't a long one.
The world feels so vibrant and alive. And when I compare it to other games in the Gacha family tree, most don't hold up. My standards are honestly just too high for this shit. Genshin has only 2 good story patches. The beginning of Sumeru and the end of Fontaine. The rest is not very good. Though, disclaimer, I haven't played through Not Cry yet. Zenless Zone Zero was good up to 1.4, but it's been pretty mid to bad since. Honkai Star Rail is my favorite Hoyo game,
like
the ones I've
story
played for a reason. It is by far the best story from them, and it isn't close. But even then, there's a lot to be critical about. Magia Record and Magia Exeter are fine. They shine sometimes, but overall they're no Madoka Magica. And the rest, I either haven't played, or they don't have a story worth mentioning. The only game that is comparable to Arknights is Fate Grand Order.
The series storyline.
That's almost unfair because Type Moon's world building has been worked on since the late 90s. Plus, I'm biased here. Lost Belt 6 is one of my favorite stories in fiction of all time. But there's a reason why I'm not calling FGO the best gacha game. There's only so much bad gameplay a story can carry. But as you can probably tell so far, I'm extremely critical of stories in all forms of media. But that's something born of passion, not maliciousness. Which is why I hope you can tell that I really do regard Arknights' world and stories as something special. And that's what that asterisk at the beginning means. I play these games out of love for their stories, more than anything else. Maybe the meaning is something else for you, but let's be realistic. We all enjoy gacha games for different reasons.
Yeah,
you might be thinking my priorities and ratings are dumb.
You can't do that though, bro. Especially with certain games. Because if you say that, you know, these parts are not for me, it doesn't go damn well.
Dog shit stupid. Your asterisk could be about exploring an open world, or high-octane, fast-paced action, or just being a degenerate gambler. But for me, it's breathing in a world I've emotionally pored over for years.
Alright, quick question. What's the most important to you in a gacha game? Story, gameplay, gacha / characters. What is it for you? What is it for you? Because for me, it's gameplay. It's gameplay. Because at the end of the day, I'm playing a game, right? That's the most important thing. If it comes wrapped with an amazing story, let's fucking go, right? But a great game can still be a great game with zero context or story, right? You know? And a great story can be a great story with shit gameplay, but shit gameplay added onto a great story, you know, as he said, can only do so much, right? The story can only, you know, if the gameplay is totally uninspiring, what's keeping you around other than maybe just watching the story online or something, right? Gameplay first and then story. Okay. Balance of both. Fair. Gameplay. Just followed by story. Yeah. Gameplay first. Makes sense, right? Because what's going on, Kiari? Makes sense because, you know, at the end of the day, we're playing a game, right? We're playing a game. The entire package, story and gameplay. I need gameplay just to enjoy the game. I need the story to be involved outside of the game. Yeah, well, I think a game can be amazing for the gameplay, right? There's a reason we play multiplayer games and stuff, right? You know, when you're playing something like Valorant or Battlefield or whatever, CSGO, whatever it might be, League of Legends, you don't necessarily have to care about the world that it exists in and the little stories that come with it because the game itself holds up, right? But when it comes to a single player game, what takes it to the next level, that elevates it, that gives you immersion, that I guess can add that emotional connection as well. Story can do a massive thing for that, right? I weigh them all pretty equally. Fair. Story for me, okay. Cutscenes are like, what, gameplay for me? Gameplay? Okay. And combat. Mostly focus on story, total gameplay, and the art style. Art style is really important to me as well, actually. I am graphics not. Art style is a big thing for me though, right? Also, FGL's gameplay isn't bad, but really niche. Yeah. Gameplay-wise, I can hold on without too much playtime. Combat has to feel impactful. Okay. Alright. Okay.
Reading the heroic...
Obviously, it all comes together. When a game can go from being good to great is when all those systems work together, right? You know, music, story, you know, basic things like UI, systems in regards to the stuff that is connected to the gameplay itself. You've got the core gameplay, then you've got systems like account leveling, character building, grind, XP, all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah. All right.
Of these operators that I've really come to love. That's everything I have to say for now. There's more to talk about, like how good the music is, the great character writing, the amazing character designs, but there's such a thing as going too much into the weeds. If you have something you want me to expand on, let me know. As you can probably tell,
I don't
I'm
mind
not
going
much
too
of a
much into the
video
weeds,
essay
bro.
writer,
I'll sit
but
in
with
the Apple
enough
day, bro.
motivation, I could be convinced to talk about anything some more. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I have a very unrealistic goal of hitting 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so I would appreciate your help in trying to get there.
Not unrealistic. Only missed it by a little bit. That sucks. Only missed it by a little bit. I'm going to subscribe to this dude, actually. I'm liking this video. I think this was a very, very good video.
That's everything from me. I'll see y'all next time.
Not just because dude's purely glazing. That goes a long way for me. But I think it was just well made. Eloquently put. Concise about his thoughts, unlike me. Yeah, I think this is a really good video. Yeah, okay. I think I agree. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is the best gacha game I've ever played. Do I even go down that route? Do I go down the route of listing? Nah, I'm not going to do it. I'll just say this is my favourite game. I was going to say, do I go down a route of listing my, like, the top 3 or something, but nah. We won't open that can of worms. Anyway, it's a really good game. You should try it out. You should try it out, in my opinion. It was a great video, that was, as well.